So this is the USBridge KVM 2. And with this device, I can come over here and I can control this PC. So it's going to be a little tricky because I only have one hand. But if you see closely, I know it's a little tough to see, there is the output of the server. And I have full access in here that I can come in here and I can type and I can control the server directly from this box, on top of plenty of other things like mounting an ISO, taking snapshots, seeing logs, and even running scripts. And I can do all of that with just this little tiny KVM, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. What's going on, everybody? It's Carmine from Barmine Tech, and like I said, that was the USBridge KVM 2, and I have it right here in my hand, and you can see that it's a pretty small device. If I hold it up in my hand, you can see it's smaller than my palm, and it's very simple. It has a joystick and 3 buttons. On this device, you have full KVM access to any device that you can plug it into, and it's a really nifty tiny device. Over here, we have 2 USB-C ports. There's 1 and 2. One's for power, one's for video output. Over here, we have a micro HDMI port. Up here, we have an 8-pin connector for ATX controls. It does come with a cable to pin out to. I haven't connected it to a device because I don't have one to connect to, but it does give you ATX controls. Like I said, on the front, we have a joystick and 3 buttons. That's to navigate through the menus and control anything you might want to. We have this neat greenish looking shell. I hope it's green. I can't really tell because I'm colorblind and it could be the color that I don't see. Here on the back, we have some standoffs so it doesn't stand flat on the desk or whatever you're working with. We have a fan to keep it cool, a heat sink, and then there is looks to be a 3D printed back for everything to sit on. This device is based off a Redaxa board, which is going to be the 03W. It's a similar idea to like the Raspberry Pis, but just another board that's going to work for this. It's a really small KVM, but I do have to say it has a lot of power. It does get partnered up with a desktop client that you could use, so you can have access into your device's KVM access. And you also can SSH into the device. However, I've had mixed results on that working fully, so I focus more on the desktop client. It integrates with Tailscale and local networking for access, so you can securely access over a Tailscale network if you are interested, if it's remote, whatever it might be, or you could access it locally. I think this is a good overview of this device, so I'm going to plug it back in and I'm going to show you what we can do with this. So let me get this cable back and we'll be right back. So first, I do want to talk about the product a little bit. So this is the website. You can see over here, it is available if you want to eventually join it on CrowdSupply. But over here, we have the website of all the information about it itself. So here is how you can SSH into it and access your BIOS or your device through SSH. I haven't had a ton of success with that just yet, but I do believe it's because there's updates coming and stuff like that. Here's just another simple display of what we have. They are working on a companion app, so you can access it from your phone if you don't have a computer, whatever it might be. There's also a desktop client that you can install for remote access. I haven't tested that because I focus more on the device itself. But over here, we do have a really good overview of the device itself. On this page, they do have a link to their documentation, which will bring us over here to some brief documentation about the KVM itself. We can come over here to the quick start guide, which is pretty much what I was talking about. One thing I did forget to mention is the SD card. So you can add a micro SD card into here for additional storage. By default, I think it has 4 or 8 gigs of storage. And then you could, of course, size it up with another SD card. Over here is just going to talk about some of the capabilities and how to do a quick setup. And then you can scroll through here. There are other instructions and guides of how to set a couple of things up, but we're going to talk about a lot of it today. One thing you are going to want to do is come over here to software and apps, and you're going to want to click on this section for desktop clients. In here is what's going to actually give you the desktop client to actually be able to connect to the KVM. So this device doesn't actually have like a web server that it hosts. It goes through a web client. So you are going to have to come in here and download the package. So it looks like the link might just be missing right now, but it is available. You might just need to click around a little bit. I will drop a link to the actual download. I know it's here somewhere. We'll just have to find it. I think if we actually come back over here, we can be able to get to their, so here's their software repository, and we can actually come in here and we can download what we need. So there is the client and the agent. The agent is what would install for remote access, and the client is what you need to actually access the device. Or you can Google it up. You just need to download the version that matches up to your operating system and your chipset. So like if you're using a regular Windows, it's probably x86 Windows, or if you're Linux, Mac, whatever it might be, you can download and run that. You're going to get a zip file. From there, you can unzip it and you'll have a folder. In this folder is where you're going to have the client. Now, it is a self-made product, so it's not going to be assigned exe, so your antivirus may throw in a warning like mine did. I just added an exclusion for now so I can run it, and then from there you can open it up. When you first get the client open, the first thing you are going to want to do is come up here to connections and click add. When you come over here, it's going to ask you for a name, so you can just name it whatever you want. I'm just going to call it demo for now. And then you're going to assign the internal IP of the device, so you can get that from the device itself if you're on DHCP. It just connects over Wi-Fi. Or if you have a static IP, you can still grab it from the device, or if you already know it, you could put it in there. The next thing you're going to want to do is give it a Tailscale address. I would suggest registering it on Tailscale because it's going to make it a little bit easier to connect. At least I found so. And you can see over here is a little checkbox to register in Tailscale. It'll open it up to your admin portal, ask you to join, and then you can go in from there. After that's done, the last thing you need is a master key. Now, this is available on the KVM itself. You're going to have to click through the settings, and there'll be an authentication section. And there it's going to give you a master key that you're going to need to copy out and put in here. What I did was ended up just take a picture of it and read it off the picture to make my life a little bit easier, because if you notice, the display is a little bit small, so it could be a little tricky to read as you go. After that's all done, you can click to save it. And then you'll be brought back to this menu. Now you have your device, and then you'll have some connection options, and then Tailscale. Make sure Tailscale is enabled if you are connecting over it, so it actually turns on and connects. There's a drop down where you can select either connect over Tailscale or LAN. Again, I connected over Tailscale because I had issues connecting to the LAN, and I think that's because of my firewall setup. But either way, it could just be easier to connect over Tailscale. Over here we have these little plugs, and we can click to connect. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger, and now you can see over here we have our KVM. So this is some mistypes over here. So over here, I can log into my Proxmox server. And I had the right password. And you can see over here, this was the B-Link server that we were working with a few months back ago with Claude and ClaudeBot and all the other projects we did with this. Now from here, we have straight access to the console, so without needing to monitor and anything else. And honestly, we could do a lot to it. Again, we have the console, so I can log in. If you do log into a desktop with like a graphical environment, you can work through here. Just remember there may be a little bit of latency. They do show on their site, there's a demo of them streaming videos off it and playing games. I just haven't tested it because our use is more for server work. Over here, we have the devices tab, and in here you can actually upload ISOs if you want. So you could flash new OSs onto the system, which would make it very easy. And I do have to say that this one has been one of the easiest ones to work with. You would just come up here and click storage, and then you could select your ISO that you want to add. I already have one uploaded, so I'm just going to come over here to check this one off and mount it as a USB stick. I'm going to click connect, and you'll see over refresh, and now I have it green, and it has a green light, means everything's all good. We also can choose to mount our keyboard and mouse if we want. I'm going to say we're going to want to. And then we have a couple of other options for like audio, because there is audio pass-through, and I suppose if you need to give it network, you could do that here as well. One thing to note, and they do mention this in the documentation, so this is for the actual video input, and this is how it sees it. Now, if over here it has 400 or 420M, I forget what it is, then you just need to flip the cable. You have to unplug the USB-C cable for the device for video, and just flip it 180 degrees, and plug it back in, and then you'll get 5G and you'll have better video output. I'm not sure the logistics of it because I'm not a hardware person, but that's what it said on the documentation, and it did fix it for me. There is a configuration in here that you can change stuff. I'm going to suggest to just keep it default to keep it simple. Other than that, we have some audio options. We have for keyboard, mouse, and pretty much that's about it over there. So there is a snapshots tab. Now in here, we can actually take snapshots from the host itself and back up the configuration to the KVM if we are interested. The idea of this is that you could have immutable backups, or you could just have a backup of your host configuration if you would like to, whether the server crashes, you lose it, there's an attack, whatever it might be. You can potentially restore it from the KVM itself. I haven't tested this feature because I don't have a need for it just yet, but it is another option. Another tab of really useful stuff is the scripts over here. Now, it comes by default with an enter BIOS script and a boot selection script, which will prompt the system to actually go into the BIOS or the boot menu. Of course, you can also come in here and you could add more scripts if you'd like. This can make it really easy when you plug the KVM in, and you can just have it boot right into the boot menu or the BIOS if you need to make changes and you don't need to connect the keyboard, or if the KVM doesn't load fast enough for the keyboard to bind, whatever it might be, and you can get into the BIOS or boot menu. Again, we have full access over here to the machine. You can see I have access, and what I do want to do is boot up into that Proxmox ISO so we could reinstall it. So I can come over here into scripts, and I can go to boot selection and hit play. And it's going to take a second to run. You can see we get like a highlight over here. And in a minute or so, it should boot us back into the boot menu. And you can see over here back in the display, it's moving. It's no longer on that Proxmox screen because it's reloading. And it will bring us into that boot menu in a minute. So now you can see we're going through the boot menu. And here I am in the Proxmox menu. Unfortunately, it's a little off-centered, and I think that's because of how I've resized the console itself. But that's okay. You get the idea of how it would work. We can go into like the terminal installer. I still have full access, and I can install it through like the terminal, and it's going to bring us right into the installer itself, and I have access to do it right through this KVM. So after a quick disconnect of the device and I connect it back, you can see that the formatting's all right. And if I go through here, I have full access to the installer. I'm going to abort this because I don't need to reinstall Proxmox. And if you hear it booping, it's because it's rebooting into the system, or it's trying to at least. But you got the idea. You have full access with this KVM to pretty much fully control and administer this system. Whether you're locally or remote to the system, you can do anything that you might need to. So I did test this KVM pretty extensively before I made this video, and I do have to say that this is one of the ones that I like more. It does still have a couple of hiccups, I won't lie. Like the SSH doesn't work as well as I feel like it should. Unfortunately, it's just not consistent. It either works or it doesn't, or it's very choppy and you really can't read what you're trying to do. So that's what really makes that a tough one for me. And one thing I do wish that this had was a web server, and instead of having to install a program on my computer to access it. It would be so much easier if I could just web to it and access it through there. But who knows, it might come in the future. Again, this device is the USBridge KVM 2.0. It will be available on Crowd Supply, and I will drop links down below if you are interested. This is a really cool device. Like I said, it's one of the ones that I do like the most. It seems to work really well. And I have to say that the thing that stood out the most to me is that I can mount an ISO, tell it to boot into the boot selection, it'll run that script, and it actually works 1, 2, 3. I have a keyboard, I have a mouse, where on other systems it doesn't work as nicely, and I have to connect a keyboard, or I have to connect something else, or I have to make it work. It's kind of a pain. The Wi-Fi is also a nice feature, except if you're in an area that doesn't have Wi-Fi. Sometimes if you're like a tech or you're in the field, you don't always have Wi-Fi to connect to. I mean, you could drop a hotspot on your phone or whatever you might need to, but it doesn't always happen. I'm going to assume there's probably a way that you can connect it over like a USB connection if you have an adapter, but it might become tricky with the HDMI, or you might have to use some different cables. But other than that, this is a really cool device. I do have to say it works really nicely, and I'm very happy with it. There were a few hiccups I did have along the line, so the device does auto update by default, and that sometimes caused me a couple issues. Like I tested this for about a week, like I said, and it worked really smoothly. And then the device auto-updated, it didn't match up with the desktop client software, and then nothing worked. And I reached out to the developer, and I do have to say, even though they're in a completely different time zone on the other side of the world from me, they answer as quickly as they can, and they answer me multiple times a day, and they help me with all my silly questions and guidance of what I needed. So I do really say I like this project, and I like the project team a lot that's working on it. If you're looking for a KVM to add to your collection or to your home lab or whatever else, this could be a really good tool, and I would suggest checking it out if you want to. As always, I want to thank you all for watching. I'll see you in the next video, and as my buddy Dom would say, hack till it hurts.